My name's Mckenna Hancock. I am a certified athletic trainer. I work in sports medicine injury prevention, providing injury prevention strategies, diagnosis, and then treatment for those injuries for the Marines. I work for 1st Marine Regiment, and I'm out here with Victor 2-1. I actually wanted to enlist out of high school, and then I just had some scholarship opportunities that I didn't want to pass up on. So by the time I finished college and then went to grad school, I thought I wanted to come back and be a Greenside Corpsman. Then I found out there was athletic trainers in the Marine Corps, so I decided not to go into the Navy, but to come back as an athletic trainer and use my degree in that capacity rather than going the corpsman route, which works out best for me because I get to work with the corpsmen, but I also get to do athletic training stuff and help keep people in the fight and help them perform a little bit better. So it's like a best of both worlds because I still get to do some of the Marine Corps stuff, but I'm not a Marine myself.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So how each command decides to utilize their athletic trainer is a little bit different. Here at 1st Marine Regiment, we are really heavy-handed on the injury prevention, which is what our program is designed to target, right? We want to reduce the amount of injuries that our Marines are having so that we can keep them in the fight more. So my day-to-day job varies based off of the deployment cycle that we're in. So when we're back in garrison, I teach a lot of classes on nutrition and recovery and teaching Marines how to train and how to train in ways to prevent injuries, right? Marines are always going to train very hard so that they can do the things that they need to be able to do, but there are ways that we can limit injuries and still be able to train very hard. So I do a lot of classes on that, and then I do about 20% patient care. So a small part of my job is seeing patients, whether it is diagnosing them or helping them get better, whether it's through rehab exercises, stretching, or hands-on therapy. We do all that type of stuff in the clinic. And then we also do a bunch of hiking support and then field support and coming out here and supporting the Marines in the field as well. A lot of the support that we do in the field focuses a lot on injury prevention. So you'll see me, I'll have a bunch of foam rollers and Theraguns and that type of stuff, and I'll occasionally lead stretching classes when the sun's not beating down on them so that they feel better and they perform better. And by performing better, they're actually reducing the amount of injuries that they're more susceptible to because they're more mobile and they're less likely to get injured then. So a lot of that focus out here in the field is on the injury prevention stuff, and then a good chunk of it is also on that injury care. So helping Marines that have been injured start their recovery process immediately after the point of injury gives them better long-term outcomes. Yeah, so I think teaching the population is probably the best way to treat the masses, right? Because we really try to focus on the squad leaders and the people that have control over the Marines, right? If we can educate them on best practices and how to fuel and engage their bodies in the way that we want them to, they then are the seed and it trickles down from them. We do like to focus on new joins and young Marines as well, because if we can start them on the right path very young, they'll grow and they themselves will then spread that knowledge as they get more into their career as a Marine. But I think educating and teaching classes is a great way to teach the masses. I think one-on-one conversations with people, though, have a more lasting impression. We really like to focus on teaching the masses, but understanding that one-on-one interactions, that Marine's going to remember that conversation a lot better than they're going to remember what I told them in a class. Units that have athletic trainers and employ them in the injury prevention efforts see lower injuries on the back end. So we're, I can't remember, 5-7 days into this field op, and we've managed to keep our injury count very low. So most of our Marines that have sustained an injury have either recovered and are back in the fight, or they're currently receiving care. But that number of Marines that have sustained injuries is lower than the historical data from units that come out here and do this training that didn't utilize an athletic trainer. So we're very effective at keeping those injuries small. On the backside of it, if we are engaged appropriately and we are able to treat injuries as soon as they happen, we actually see those Marines recover faster than if they didn't engage with us. So say like a Marine rolls their ankle out here and we're able to start the rehab process and get them through it and returned, that Marine returns better than somebody that just maybe rested for a couple of weeks and then tried to go back on their own. So we're seeing that Marines get back to full duty faster, but they also feel better after that type of stuff, and they're actually able to perform better on the back end. People will see me, and one the other thing, I'm a physical therapist, or they don't understand. I would say athletic training is a jack of all trades, right? Athletic trainers can go and specialize in different things. I would say it really comes down to utilization. So if a Marine doesn't understand what an athletic trainer is, most of the time I'll explain it to them in like the college setting, because most people watch sports on TV. And if I explain to them, the person that runs out onto the field that treats the injury right there on the field, that's an athletic trainer. And we're taking that and putting them in the Marine Corps, because what Marines don't always understand is that they're tactical athletes, okay? So they need to treat themselves like they're professional athletes. And I give this spiel to them all the time. Whenever I teach a class, I'm always like, do you guys collect a paycheck for being physically active? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, do you eventually lose that paycheck if you cannot perform your physical duties? And they're like, yeah, to a certain extent. I'm like, do you guys get graded on how physically fit you are and how capable you are at being athletic in combat scenarios? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, you're a combat athlete. You're a paid professional athlete, okay? So we need to treat ourselves like that, and we need to do the recovery, and we need to do the nutrition, and the recovery, and sleep well, and do all that good stuff, and treat ourselves and our injuries like we're a professional athlete, because at the end of the day, if you boil it all down, these guys are paid professional athletes. They're just paid professional tactical athletes. So I'm long-winded. I boil it all back down to athletics and reminding them that they're athletic athletes at the end of the day, and that an athletic trainer is there to help prevent and mitigate all injuries, but they're also there to diagnose and treat them as well. I would say we know a lot about a lot of things. So like, if you have any type of question, just ask it. Chances are we probably know how to get the answer if we don't know the answer. And I've never met a mean athletic trainer, so we're all open-minded. So like, coming up and asking any type of question, I love Marines that ask questions. And I think if there's one thing that I would like Marines to know about athletic trainers, about how we operate here, is just ask a question and don't be scared.